Can you spot the self-propelled howitzer M109? No? But it's right here! Due to the dense presence of drones on the battlefield, Ukrainian SPH M109 crews are forced to either constantly change their firing positions or stay in static yet fortified and camouflaged positions. Sometimes, that's actually safer than being on the move. By the way, do these marks look familiar? These are kill marks for enemy equipment, but we're missing 5. We just don't have time to paint them. After destroying a target and once it's officially confirmed, the division commander comes by to add these marks for destroyed vehicles, special targets, or equipment rescued under fire. And that terrifying skull, styled after the Predator movie universe, it's painted on for special targets. But why a skull? We'd guess it's because that's what destroyed tanks on the battlefield look like when caught on drone footage. Hit the like button if you agree. All these marks exist to boost morale among the crews, but they don't really show how American self-propelled howitzer M109s are performing in this modern war. It's time to find out. So far, Ukraine has received over 155 units of M109 in various modifications. Fans of this howitzer know that after decades of production, these SPHs have become 50% heavier. For example, the original M109 from 1962 weighed almost 24 tons, while the 1990s Paladin systems now weigh a hefty 36 tons. What's more, the M109s fighting in Ukraine continue to gain weight in battle. How? You're about to find out. Let's start with this. Earlier variants had shorter barrels measuring 23 calibers in length. Later models, including the A6 Paladin, come with heavier barrels measuring 39 calibers. Additionally, the A6 features upgraded chassis and drive components. Experts from the 1st Armored Division and Fort Bliss Museum, Texas, confirmed these improvements. It's also known that the Alpha 6 has an increased ammunition capacity of 39 rounds and an upgraded engine, which makes sense as a heavier machine needs a more powerful engine. There's also reinforced armor inside the turret. However, distinguishing between different M109 modifications from the outside is quite difficult. Still, the differences are significant enough to ask the soldiers about them. My crew consists of 4 people, a driver mechanic, a loader, a gunner, and me, the commander. Each has their own role. Wait, but earlier versions had a 6-person crew. Who are the 2 that are no longer needed in the Alpha 6 crews? First off, the 2nd gunner became unnecessary. Hopefully, these guys found new jobs. The reduction was due to the automated fire control system, which previous versions lacked. Here's how it works. The Alpha 6 has a gyro compass. When it arrives at a position, it already knows its location. All that's left is to send those coordinates to the fire control center. The digital navigation and fire control systems are integrated into a single control network. All coordinates come to us from the fire control center. They see everything through drones. They're our eyes. Without them, we don't fire because we don't know where to aim. Modern equipment relies on internal gyroscopic devices, receiving GPS data and auto-targeting. This is the gunner's computer, and this one's mine. I input the GPS coordinates from the navigator, meaning wherever I stop, I send my coordinates to the commander, and he provides the target coordinates. I can immediately fire from that spot. No need for a manual sighting device. Thanks to this, the Alpha 6 can open accurate fire just 30 seconds after stopping, as the digital system performs all necessary calculations much faster than even the most experienced artillery calculator could, are virtually eliminated. This means that to hit a target, the crew doesn't need to prepare the firing position in advance, perform topogeodetic calculations, conduct meteorological adjustments, or even fire adjustment shots. 2 or 3 shots, and the target's gone. Got it. The assistant gunner is redundant. In one of our upcoming videos about artillery, we'll definitely break down the work of gunners who don't have computerized assistants. So make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss it. But who's the other person that didn't make it into the Paladin crew? You'll be surprised, but in earlier versions of the M109, the 6th crew member was another loader. This is because the Alpha 6 is equipped with a semi-automatic loading system, which earlier models didn't have. Someone in the Pentagon decided that a 2nd loader wasn't necessary. So the loader now has to pull out a shell and place it in front of the gun's breech, then load the propellant charge, and repeat, repeat, repeat. Even just watching this from the comfort of a couch can make your muscles ache. My loaders have arms like orangutans because they move 10 to 15 tons daily. Yes, even with a semi-automatic loader, this is tough work for one person. as each shell weighs at least 95 pounds. Hey, bring back the second loader. For instance, German PZH 2000 models with semi-automatic loaders have 2 loaders in their crew. In our video about Leopard tanks, we talked about the unique features of German weaponry used in Ukraine, including their super howitzers, the PZH 2000. However, German SPHs weigh over 55 tons. The American Alpha 6 is practically a ballerina in comparison. What's the secret? This armor is unique. It's soft but has a low melting point, so hot fragments literally fuse into it. The thing is, the M109's armor is made of an aluminum alloy, making fragments often impossible to remove. That's why American howitzers used in Ukraine keep slowly gaining weight in battle. Of course, this is a metaphor, but there are reasons why aluminum was chosen. First, aluminum armor, though thicker, is lighter than steel. Second, aluminum-based alloys resist corrosion better, thanks to a film that forms on the metal's surface, preventing further oxidation. Hit like if you knew this about aluminum. This means aluminum hulls don't require deep preservation when stored, and will last much longer than traditional steel hulls. After all, the hull is always the most expensive and critical part of any vehicle. Finally, unlike steel, aluminum hulls have better torsional rigidity, meaning they don't require additional structural reinforcements. As a result, the interior is much more ergonomic and spacious than it would be with traditional armor. This is why the interior of the M109 hasn't changed much since the 1960s. But what about crew protection? It survived a mine blast and nearby hits. Tests showed that aluminum armor performs well against impacts at angles of 30 degrees or more, and at 45 degrees or higher, it reliably absorbs fragment energy, preventing penetration or secondary fragmentation that could harm the crew. At very steep angles, the fragments even ricochet without significant damage to the armor. But sure, it holds up against fragments, but direct hits, it won't survive. The 32mm armor that protects the M109 crew all around can only withstand fragments and small caliber rounds up to 7.62mm. Larger caliber machine guns will turn this armor into Swiss cheese. However, the tactics of self-propelled artillery don't involve positioning M109s within the range of heavy machine guns or the 30mm cannons of Russian BMPs. Similarly, M109s should never find themselves within the 7-mile range of Russian 152mm tank guns or anti-tank weapons, which can easily turn an aluminum hull into a shapeless, shiny ingot. Self-propelled artillery operates at a safe firing range, which means the Mod Deuce mounted on the Alpha 6 turret often remains unused. The standard firing range of this gun with conventional ammunition is 13 miles. Considering Ukrainian tactics, the primary threat to Paladin systems on the battlefield comes from kamikaze drones like the Lancet. You can roll out, fire, and nothing will come back at you, but sometimes you have to fire and immediately relocate to a new position. Another tactic to counter threats is fortifying and camouflaging a stationary position, as you saw at the beginning of this video. The advantage of this approach is that the crew can stay safely away from the gun in case of danger. Additionally, ammunition doesn't need to be stored inside the vehicle, but can be kept separately. However, this tactic also has its downsides. The main one, if the Russians uncover the position, they'll keep shelling it until it's destroyed or the crew relocates. The working conditions for individual crews depend on the specific sector of the front. In addition to standard rounds, Paladin systems can fire RAP, rocket-assisted projectiles, with a range of up to 19 miles, and Excalibur precision-guided munitions, which can reach up to 25 miles. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Paladin arsenal also includes HVP, hyper-velocity projectiles. Their aerodynamic design ensures low drag, high speed, maneuverability, and shorter time to target. And yes, they can even engage aerial targets. Imagine a 155mm gun shooting down a Russian cruise missile. That's exactly what happened during 2020 testing, where the M109 Paladin successfully intercepted a simulated Russian cruise missile. However, HVP rounds are not supplied to Ukraine, because they're not mass-produced yet and remain in the testing phase, with no follow-up trials. So let's get back to reality. The main shells used by Paladin systems in Ukraine are high-explosive fragmentation shells, cluster munitions, and ammunition for remote mining. We fire all kinds of shells. Firing rate is 6 to 9 rounds per minute. Wow! This hotshot is ready to rain fire on the enemy. His crew deserves a spot in the Guinness World Records. But according to other sources, the Paladin system can fire up to 4 rounds per minute for 3 minutes or 1 round per minute during sustained fire. Regardless, the intensity of Paladin operations in Ukraine is extremely high. I've already replaced 4 barrels on my Alpha 6 systems. We're working at full throttle. My personal record is 192 shells in one day. Usually, though, it's less. 40, 50, or 60 rounds. The barrel lifespan of a Paladin system is estimated at 7,500 rounds. That's decent, but barrels aren't eternal. At average combat intensity, they last 3 to 4 months. What happens when the barrel's lifespan is exceeded? The simplest issue is a significant drop in accuracy, but there are also dangerous incidents where the barrel explodes, putting the crew at risk. That's why the Pentagon allocated $161 million to create a second production line for barrels for 155mm howitzers M777 and M109, as the US's sole factory, Watervliet Arsenal, cannot meet Ukraine's demand for more than 30 new barrels per month. Additionally, due to their impressive battlefield performance, the Pentagon ordered extra Paladin systems, specifically the next generation Alpha 7. This new SPH will be based on the M2 Bradley chassis, which is also performing well in Ukraine. This platform will allow the Alpha 7 to increase its weight to 50 tons. What do you think the new Paladin system needs the most? Additional armor, a 25mm cannon instead of the Ma Deuce to counter lancets, a longer range gun? Or do you have your own idea? Let's discuss in the comments.